what do you got to say about that? Plans get changed. But I want to thank Ben for this creative opportunity. And for my first number, I'll do the time step. And then that's it. That's all she wrote. So waking up is not enough. I recently came upon a Buddhist writing based, I believe, on a book that this gentleman is writing. And he described a process. So I would like to go through it with all of you. So yeah, the first step. Somewhere in the physical realm, the mental realm became apparent to us. And then from that stage, something about metaphysics, something about the realization that we are energy and that we are always moving energy and information into a creative mind that takes, as Holmes said, the impress of our thoughts, and voila, form is produced. And so we have that inkling. And as I'm very fond of always reminding people in communities like this, if we would account the classes we've attended, the talks we've heard, the workshops that we've experienced, the webinars. Do you have any shortage of webinar opportunities? So with all of that, the simple question is, so what you doing with what you got? Is your life representative of a fulfillment, a sense of the rightness and the goodness and the peace of mind, particularly in navigating the net of complexity and confusion that we see in the world? And I'll be taking a little count today to see who you're voting for. Just kidding. Just kidding. So in this milieu of people and places and changes, and what comes up is that wake-up call where suddenly I am not my body. I have a body. Praise the Lord. Would you all say with me, praise the Lord, I have a body. Praise the Lord, I have a body. I have a mind, but I am not my mind. Praise the Lord, I have a mind. Praise the Lord, I have a mind. You know where this comes from? I just, for the very first time, saw T.D. Jakes. Oh my God. Anybody ever see Bishop? So that's where you sneak off to and watch. I mean, first of all, the time I saw him on this youth, he had silver, like, tennis shoes on because he's a parader. He's marching back and forth. I hear it right now. And I thought he's talking practical spirituality. So that the same thing, you are more than your mind, you are more than your body, you are more than the experiences you are having. I am not my experiences. I have experiences. Let's say that one. I have experiences. I am not my experiences. So, yeah, you got to do it fast to keep up because I can be all over the place. So, in my earliest days of ministry in Edmonton, Alberta, several of the comments, you know, this was back in 1985, a very conservative place. Next stop, Northwest Territories, for God's sake. So very conservative, and very gently, several people would approach me and say, at that time, Reverend Sue, do you think you could slow down your talking? And I said, no, listen up your hearing. So they got the flavor of who I was right then. So back on the trail of waking up, suddenly I am seeing through a deeper eye, the eye of my soul, as I perceive I am not distant from my experiences. I am not distant from my thoughts, nor from my feelings. There is some being, some essence that stands behind the scene, and according to how it perceives itself, what its contemplations are, my world of experience is produced. Okay, so I'm excited, you're excited, and we continue to take the class and go to the lecture and experience the workshop, and for many, big changes take place. And for some, everything remains the same. There seems to be a place where just when that approach to the greater idea and the more fulfilling experience comes just within grasp, something stops it. So let's say that's the hook. And the hook of that certain something is simply the remnants of a habitual pattern, a belief system that has thus far, up until now, been the stopping point or the sabotaging point of our experience. I've been watching the Olympics. Anyone? Oh my God, how is it possible? You know, I'm having deja vu. I must have been here saying that 4 years ago when the Summer Olympics were on, because it's like, how can you deny that certain something that is transcendent? These young, chronologically young people with such focus in the midst of such distraction and audience and the competitive edge with which they are being asked to surpass themselves, really. I just think it's the most remarkable thing. And out of that, there comes an inspired opportunity for all of us to really see, well, okay, I'm not an Olympian. I don't jump off high mountains or slide down hills, maybe. But there is something within each and every one of us that transcends the thoughts we have about it, what stage of life we're at, that transcends the feelings about, yeah, but that means I've got to take a course, or I've got to do some volunteer work. What for? You know, I've already lived a good life. Well, there's a better life because there's a better idea, and as long as there always is a better idea, a greater idea, because we're in a universal, infinite mind, then that means the way that I tap into it, just like Reverend Catherine referred to it, then to the degree I tap in and say yes to life, to that degree, life then provides the supply to my demand. So I'm awake. And then what I notice in the next stage is I'm not really staying awake, because there I am in a communication with somebody, and again, I am being emotionally reactive to what I perceive the buttons that they push. So that's the clue right there. The minute I feel that surge of annoyance, anxiety, apprehension, frustration, fear. Anybody familiar with those things? Our relatives and friends, not us. The moment that we get that urgency to have to react, to either defend ourselves or to attack, I know that I've gone to sleep. I've gone to sleep to the realization that there is that within me, as the Course in Miracles says it, I can choose peace instead of this. I can truly choose to be calm and in harmony with myself, which makes it far more amenable to have a conversation, even if there's a disagreement. So the waking up necessitates stay up, get onto yourself, be more vigilant in standing at the door of your consciousness. I'm moving now. You've had enough, so I'll move over here. So I'll go over here. Okay. There you go. You know, by the way, that you have one of the, I've got to be diplomatic, finest musicians in our midst. That's Andy from Simi Valley, formerly. That's it. And where's the gentleman who looks like John Turturro, who was playing literally? Okay. I mean, from where I was sitting, he looked like John Turturro. And anybody know who he is? He's in a fabulous new HBO show, the night of. And I just kept looking. And I was particularly, for those who watch the show, you'll know what I'm saying. I was particularly looking at his feet. Okay. So, I wake up and I stay up. And I do it with commitment and consistency. Let's say that. I wake up and I stay up. And I do it with consistency and commitment. So what does that involve? You know, waking up to a spiritual truth and claiming that since I'm not my body, I have it. I'm not my mind, I have one. I have experiences and feelings, but that's not who I am. Who we are is the very essence of the universal energy, intelligence, that impulsion of love, that out of its own contemplation of self opens the door to peopling my world with wholeness and harmony and making my contribution to the world in the unique ways that only I can do and the unique ways that only you can do. And that requires, I think, sometimes an equivalent that gets lost, and that is waking up is great. Staying up is absolutely mandatory. Growing up, and I'm talking emotionally, and I'm talking mentally, I'm talking situationally, that we still haven't fine-tuned or honed in that area where I know what my hook is, that place where I become reactive. I know, and in the awareness and recognition of it, I do have the capacity to alter the course of that direction in which it's going, which is anger and frustration and disappointment that things didn't work out. You know, the biggest lesson I think that I have learned, and my oldest son Michael and I talk about it a lot, is being flexible. I mean, really, from the soul up. Being able to invoke that resilience with which I can alter my direction. I may have a direction in mind. I've already given universal intelligence a path that I see to follow, if indeed it's in harmony with the universal purpose. And yet, when things don't happen according to my expectations, I'm learning that the moment I do have human expectations that you will do something or life will bring to my doorstep this thing that I insist upon having, it's a setup in many ways for disappointment because I have vetoed the availability of that universal mind. And that's the beauty, I think, of the resilient, flexible quality of spirit, which knows only the moment. This is the only moment there ever can be. So whether I'm contemplating it in the past or looking to the future, I'm still doing that right here and right now. I was at a place that does nails, a place I had been to a very long time ago. And there was a gal in one of those chairs getting a pedicure and a manicure. I was just there for a manicure. And it was late in the day, and we were the only two there. And she said, "Oh, I am so excited. I'm going off on a yoga retreat to Hungary." And she said, it means everything to me. The finest teachers are going to be present, and it's just so exciting. She said, yes, and then she was like streaming consciousness, just thinking out loud. And she said, have you been here before? That reminds me of the bar line. When I first got divorced, we were walking to the bar, and everybody was all, "So do you come here often?" She asked me, "Do you come here often?" On a more lofty plane, however. So I said, "Yeah, but I don't think Nancy," the gal who was doing my nails, "I don't think Nancy remembers me." She said, "Oh, of course I do. You're a pastor." Pastor Rubin. That somehow, I don't know, sounds a little fishy. Sounds fishy to me. Rabbi Rubin, okay, I can do that one. I can do that. So at which point the girl said, oh my God, I want to be a minister. And I don't know how this all comes together with my yoga and what's happening in my world. I said, oh, any particular faith tradition? She said, yes, it used to be called religious science. I understand now it's more familiarly known as science of mind. And so, again, Nancy, my press agent, kept saying, yeah, that's what she does. She does that funny thing, whatever that is. So you just cannot, would I have anticipated that? Would I have designed it? Oh, good, today I'm going to meet someone that I can share these ideas with and exchange information. That's it. That's the best that we do. But what is the information, and from what aspect of ourself is it forthcoming? When we live from the inside out, then waking up, staying up, and growing up becomes part of the package. You know, that's one of my most favorite affirmations. We will say it. I will say it first. I am eternally young, and I am spiritually mature. Together, I am eternally young, and I am spiritually mature. And that does mean I've got to clean up my act somewhere in this mix of soul and mind and body and spirit and all of the planes of expression that are available to us. And we're going through all of them in one moment after another. I remember an old, very old cartoon. And here's a test question. Anybody ever hear of W.C. Fields? Okay. So the cartoon was, he had this cartoon of a bookkeeper with, you know, the hat, remember the peak thing they used to wear, bookkeepers. And he's in a room and you just see piles upon piles upon piles of files. And his boss comes in each of these segments of the cartoon and says, oh, I need the file on Barclay and Company. And in the cartoon, he goes down, pulls it out, and hands it. That's like spirit. That's like I've got all of these files. What happened to me as a kid, what didn't happen to me as a kid, what mom did, what mom didn't do, what the divorce was like, what being gay is like, what being divorced is like, what being, in the diversity department, by being a refugee from my own homeland. All of these files, and yet in the midst of all that can be seen, we have the conscious capacity to immediately diffuse the energy of the outer imposing itself upon us and pick out that file that's God as me. And I'll be informed at that level, and I will be guided from that place so that I am a responder. I am a first responder to God. Let's say that. That's really, truly, I am a first responder to God. And from that place is where this world of ours is somehow eased at certain levels of chaos and violence and threat and economic challenges. And believe it or not, that certain file that we picked out of all that was available, the one that's marked God as me, is requiring of us something greater, so that as I wake up and as I really am dedicated to staying awake, to watching myself in what the Easterns describe the witness, so that I'm like sitting on my own shoulder, and without judgment, without attachment, I'm noticing, oh, how funny she is. What is she doing now? Why is she doing that? Why does she have to brush her teeth with 3 toothbrushes? No, that's what my daughter asked me when we were in Salt Lake City. Well, I've got the electric, and then I've got this one in case, the battery, well, who knows? That's me. Take me with my 3 toothbrushes or not. That's the uniqueness. So, if I wake up to the realization of my divine wholeness, I think I will discover the freedom that is contained within that idea, within that word, the freedom of authenticity, where I won't be using the principles really about the business of getting, but I will discover the sheer delight of realizing how much I really do have to give. It is quite remarkable. It truly is, to awaken to that within ourselves which holds the key to this liberation and joyous creative expression, and to know that in the depth of it, in the background, and coming out at the foreground, is this intelligence, this essence, this presence. Holmes talks about love impels the creative law of mind action, and the law impels and propels it forward. It's compelled to do that because that's what mind does. So if I wake up, and I do, and if I stay up, more mindful, and how do I do all that? Practice, practice, practice. The message doesn't change. Hasn't changed for millennium. It's the way it is. You meditate first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning. Did you get that? And no music, no guided meditations. You just discover your way, either through contemplation or through a mantra or through anything that gives you the chance to look at the things interiorly that you don't want to see. Look at the things that you really don't want to see. So I know that in waking up, staying up, and growing up, that's when I show up in the full totality of that which I am, that which you are. I remember years ago I wound up with God is, I am, this is God, and that's the way it is. Thank you. What did I do? Okay.